Welcome everyone to IMC and Branding. So why is this important? This is a quote out of Sullivan 2016, which is Hey Whipple Squeeze This. And he talks about a book called the Advertising Concept Book, where there's a quote there from someone called Nick Shaw on the power of brands. And this is a great quote, and I think it really sums up not just this week, but probably across the entire course. If you systematically dismantle the entire operation of the Coca-Cola company and left them with only their brand name, management could rebuild the company within 5 years. Remove the brand name and the enterprise would die within 5 years. That's so true about why we do brand. So let's get into the IMC side of things. Don't forget what it stands for. Integrated Marketing Communications. That means you integrate things in the promotional mix, those 6 elements across there, with each other. It can be a combination of 6 or 3 or 2 or whatever. It's up to you. It is mainly paid for, but can be free, such as PR, and of course what we see nowadays through digital and social media. Also, don't forget this theory. I know, you're pretty tired of it by now, but that's good because I'm hoping that you'll understand this one. So, it is the one theory to rule them all. Keller's customer-based brand equity theory explains the modern role of advertising and communications of branding. Advertising and promotion has direct roles in influencing all of those customer-based brand equity constructs. For example, emotional responses towards advertising specifically influences how a consumer may feel about a brand. An advertisement targeting awareness is also trying to create salience between brand and consumer, amongst other objectives. So you can see how they're all tied in with each other. Well, I hope you can. IMC and brand equity. Now, IMC can contribute to brand equity by creating awareness of the brand, linking points of parity and points of difference associations to the brand in the consumer's memory, eliciting positive brand judgments or feelings, and facilitating a stronger customer-based brand connection and brand resonance. So, the role of IMC in branding. Number 1, builds awareness in products of products and brands. 2, creates a brand image. 3, provides product and brand information. 4, persuades people. 5, provides incentives to take action. 6, provides brand reminders. 7, reinforces past purchases and brand experiences. And now, here's why you need to keep this model in mind though when you look at other models such as the brand equity pyramid. Communications. It is a thing. So, in the background there we have noise. Don't assume your marketing message is going to go through perfect. It won't. There are many different variables which influence the effectiveness of a message. You need to be aware of each and every one of those with your target market before making the assumption that everything's to be fine and dandy. Usually in marketing, things aren't fine and dandy. Customers may or may not get your message the way you want them to, or may not perceive it the way you think they should. This is where doing different platforms, different content, and different creative can come into it. So, brand communication. This is where we're looking at Keller's equity model here. With a newer model, you can see there on brand communication. You can see how we talk about the brand, the customers, the way out, as they call it there, and touch points. A very trendy term now in marketing is where consumers touch or have contact with the brand in different aspects. And finally, how you might manage the brand. That all links in to Keller's equity model, as you can see over there. Also, we're at a cusp of change in Australia. It hasn't happened yet, but traditional and new media are becoming now commonplace with each other and slowly changing to where new media will have dominance over traditional. I say the word slowly because it really hasn't happened yet in Australia. That is because of the demographics involved. We have a greying and older population, not to myself here. And so we're seeing a slow but gradual change away from traditional marketing to digital. But it does not mean that traditional will ever die. It probably won't. It'll probably be here for a long period of time, or until Australian internet speeds catch up, where we don't have to rely upon TV transmissions anymore for our information. So, any marketer right now needs skills and knowledge of each. You do. Thinking that you can just, read a few books at university and become a great marketer is a little bit incorrect with your thinking. In fact, very incorrect. Yes, that'll give you the knowledge, but you need skills. That said, most work is being done digitally now, so you need digital skills. And this is a process we're seeing undoubtedly sped up by the coronavirus crisis and its impact upon work. But there will still be traditional methods which will be more effective than new methods with certain target markets. Keep in mind those stats though on the right hand side there, and make sure you understand how Australia is changing. Not just the rest of the world, but think here in a local Australian context. So let's go through some of the methods you might be using in IMC. Number one, sales promotions. The advantages are there. And you can see they're quite good. There's strong advantages in why someone might want to use sales promotions when it comes to building up brand equity. That said as well, also make sure you follow the steps in developing a sales promotion. Those steps and processes are critical to marketers being able to prove that we're effective in what we do in our roles. So make sure you follow these steps. Otherwise, you really are just making it up as you go along, and no, that is not cool. However, sales promotions, like every method we'll look at in IMC, also have disadvantages. And you can see there, in fact, if you use them a lot, you can relate to or see a lot more brand switching and a lot more decrease in brand loyalty. It can also have decreased quality perceptions and increased price sensitivity. It can inhibit the use of a franchise. It can divert marketing funds and sales promotions and increase the importance of price as a factor in consumer decisions. It may subsidize buyers who would have bought the brand anyway. And number 7, saturation of the method of marketing is becoming very, very common. Something to be careful of as a strategy. All right, on to the next slide. PR events and experiences. PR events and experiences focus on engaging the customer's senses and imagination as a part of brand building. Think about how great it was to go to your last music concert, for example. Event marketing means that we're seeing more public sponsorship of events or activities related to sports, art, entertainment, or social causes. This is particularly so in a place like Canberra. We see this done a lot by a lot of brands. They can range from the extravagant sponsorship events, a la Floriade, to simple local in-store product demonstrations. Think here, even at a very basic level, the farmers markets when they run an Epic. Let's hope they're back on again soon. So, PR is big here in Canberra. It's still a large field of employment in marketing, but that is changing as it is becoming more and more expected that PR people can work in other fields of marketing. PR is also drifting into crisis management and stakeholder relations. It's important in protecting and promoting brand equity in setting contexts. And yes, you'll need to make media up as you go along. If you work in PR and marketing nowadays, you'll have to be capable of making videos on the run, photos, charts, blogs, and all the rest of it. In other words, the stuff I've been trying to make you to do in this course. And talking of sponsorship, let's cover that now. Sponsorship, less control on the message sometimes, and it can damage the brand if done badly. Just ask the NRL. It can also be very, very powerful in some markets, such as New Zealand. The only brand in New Zealand really in a sporting context is the All Blacks. However, sponsorship will take a massive hit due to the impact of the coronavirus, but should bounce back by 2022-2023. The most valuable sponsorships in Australia are all with the AFL. And I should say, not here to state of origin, a la the mighty Queensland Maroons, where we see a lot of money also poured into those 3 games. In fact, according to the NRL's own figures, it's around $100 million in revenue in sponsorship and TV rights over 3 matches. It's nothing compared though to international sports, especially football or soccer, depends how you want to define it. For me, it's football. We see across the world where $100 million sometimes is the signing fee for one player. So the other part here of promotions we'll talk about just briefly is brand amplifiers. These are efforts made to engage consumers and the public via word of mouth and public relations and publicity. They amplify the effects created by other marketing activities through public relations and publicity, such as viral and guerrilla marketing, word of mouth, such as social media, hashtag campaigns, Facebook, Instagram, etc., 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 and brand association effects, such as celebrity or influencers, which is becoming very, very common nowadays. Now, over on the right-hand side, I suggest you look at that image and read it very well. It has the type of engagement and what it means. So we see content creators, content curators in real life, talent for hire, brand takeovers, content amplifiers, and product co-creators. That all relates to the world of influencers. So it's a good slide to look at in consideration for those wondering how influencers come into this mix. All right, personal selling is another tool of IMC. In a way, celebrities can be defined as a type of personal sell, and they are. Retail assistants are the more common form you might see, and are important when it comes to personal selling, adding value to the relationship between brand and the consumer, and representing the brand at customer touchpoints. Sadly, though, the brand usually never values this, and as a consequence, many staff, usually paid low wages, never value the customer. This may help explain why so many large retailers are collapsing. On to digital and internet marketing. For nearly everyone reading this right now, this is where it is going to be at for the next several decades. Those without digital skills and experience, such as building websites and understanding how to apply theory practically in digital and social methods, will find life hard as a marketer. In fact, you won't even be interviewed for a job. So here is what you need to understand. We're moving into models like peso there on the right-hand side. You need to learn how those models apply to obtaining your digital skills and how then you use those digital skills. This is going to be important for you to get your foot in the door. No one wants just a person great at theory. You need to be great at theory and practice in marketing, because we're after seeing that you add value from day one. And adding value from day one is not just about how great you can write up a research report, it's also how you can add value in a practical sense, because at the end of the day, we are looking to add value not just through relationship, but of course the bottom line. So keep this in mind as you understand and wrap up your skills in this course. A bit more on brand amplifiers and influencers. This is important to understand where we might see these people nowadays. And you can see the change there is away from Facebook to Instagram being the #1 platform for influencers. Snapchat is growing, Twitter's still there, YouTube's still there, of course. Now that's overall figures. It does not really drill down to the fact is where you might find your target market for your brand. That is something you need to do through research. In terms of money making of influencers and how much you might expect to pay someone, on the right hand side there is a guide for how much you may want to pay an influencer with the follower account. But word of caution here, I can buy followers tomorrow. I can have a follower count of millions tomorrow if I paid the right amount of money. So if I can do that, do I have really any influence on the behavior of a consumer? Probably not. So just be careful on how you might want to use influencer in a campaign and make sure they can actually do what their name says. Influence. It's no good just having someone who looks fantastic and that's their only ability is to influence someone through how they look. You want someone to influence their target market through how that target market recognizes that person as having expertise in a certain area. Right, Instagram influencers by price. This is as per 2018, so it's a little bit out of date. This is, says here the top 32. Of course, I could not fit it into the slide, so we have the top 18 instead. And as you can see, the top level brands cost money. And why not? They get the impact you're really after. But in an Australian context, most of those people would cost your entire campaign budget in one hit. So you can't spend that sort of money. Instead, you need to focus on local talent and local celebrities who may be able to influence your target market for a far less price. Also, think about influencers changing in use in terms of how we move into micro or nano influencers, with perhaps even as few as hundreds of followers, are now being preferred due to lower cost and higher effectiveness. So some of these people may only cost you around $150 or $200, but will have the same impact of using someone who may cost 10, 100 times that, even more than that. More important too is that the target market is able to see the influencer as actually influencing them rather than a perception that X amount of followers equals influence, what I said in the previous slide. But this is why we're moving back to micro and nano influencers, because they actually do have real influence on the target market. So how do you know it's all working? Well, very simple test is current brand knowledge, then your communication equals desired brand knowledge. So this is where you want to start off from. What is your current brand knowledge? Or what is the customer's current brand knowledge? Have you created a detailed mental map based on research about what the customer may perceive your brand as doing and being? So what desired brand knowledge you want to move to in the consumer's mind? Have you defined optimal points of parity and points of difference and a brand mantra? How does the communication option help the brand get from the current to desired knowledge with the consumers? And have you clarified the specific effects on knowledge engendered by communications? These are all great questions only you can answer when you do up your brand campaign and brand strategy. Similar to the last topic, here are some questions which you may need to ask yourself in relation to this topic. So go through these ads and answer these questions. This should be something you can do at home, and you can always catch up with me in consultation time to see what your answer may be. Here's another example. And that then wraps up what we've done for today. I hope this has been enthralling. Stay tuned for next week on our thrilling adventure through the course, heads towards its conclusion. And next week, what we'll be looking at is, wait for it, drum roll please, is managing brands over time. And finally, the week after that, we'll do storytelling, but it'll be a different sort of lecture, and one perhaps which may not appear on YouTube. In fact, I might just do it straight to the class. Thanks for listening, everyone. Talk to you soon.